Hello Russia, and welcome back to CAD-CAM Cookies Russian English edition. Welcome to the Russian Olympiad for 2013. In this edition I'm going to show you how to make this rather beautiful clock with all the minute indicators around the outside using traditional Roman numerals, and also show you how to put on an engraving of perhaps a famous landmark in Russia. I'm also going to show you in this edition how to create a clock frame so that we can actually put your clock into it. This is machined out of a piece of light oak, and interestingly in this edition I'm going to show you how to make the reverse part as well, so that we can actually slip the clock face and the mechanism inside the back of this frame. All that's coming up in this edition of CAD-CAM Cookies. And now we're ready to begin. Let's go to New File, and make sure you've got a height of 500mm and a width of 500mm. Check a resolution of around 1690-1700, that will be fine, and click on OK. If you've been working in ArtCam previously, we don't need to save the changes. And this will create for us a new model. You should have an assistant, and if you don't, right hand click in the toolbar ribbon at the top and choose on Assistant and select that. If you don't have any grid points on here, go to View, choose Snap Grid, and make sure Snap to Grid, Draw Snap Grid and Snap Grid settings are on at a grid spacing of 10mm, and click on OK. We're going to use some guidelines, and in our rulers, if you click with the left hand mouse button and drag across and release at 250, that'll snap there at that point. Again, in the horizontal ruler, click, drag and release at 250mm. We're now going to draw 3 circles, and you can either get this from this toolbar here, or you can choose it from your vector tools by holding down this button and selecting from here. I'm going to choose Create Circles. If I drag a shape and pull out, I can change the diameter, and I want to change that to 480mm. Click on Preview and right hand click, and that then will be formed. And I'm going to do that again for 2 further circles. Click in the centre, drag out and release, change the diameter to 440mm and release, right hand click. And again finally a smaller one, release, enter a diameter of 300mm. Click on Preview and right hand click with your mouse, and it should form there. So now we've got 1, 2, 3 circles, concentric. This area here is going to be used later to glue this dial into a wooden frame. So we're not going to do much in here at all. This is going to be where we start to see the dial of the clock. And just inside this area, we're going to start designing now some markers for the minutes. But it's always a good idea to save our work. So let's try and save our work by going to Save, give it a name, and I've already tried this project, so I'll call this Russian Clock 2 on here, and click on Save. Right then, we're going to draw a profile for the minute indicators, and you might remember this from the little bit of video I showed you before. So to do this, we're going to choose the polyline tool, and if I click and hold, there's the polyline tool here. And I'm going to draw a mark representing the minute hand mark for the first minute and the second minute. And to do that, I'm just going to click on a point, click on another, move 3 along, 1 down, and then 3 across, and then right hand click to let go. This will be the first minute marker, which will be a positive male relief, and this will be a female negative relief. I'm going to duplicate this shape 30 times. That represents minute 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on as we move along. Okay, here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to ask you to click on this shape and look for something called block and rotate copy, and that's it there. I'm going to click on it and make sure you've selected block copy and distances are gaps. In the X gap, I need you to enter 0, and in the number of columns, I'd like you to enter 30. Number of rows, you only need 1, and Y gap, it doesn't matter, but just leave it as 1. And when we click on apply, you'll see that this shape now is duplicated all the way along and off the page. I'm just going to close this now, and with my roller mouse button in the middle, I'm just going to zoom out and you can see how that has gone all the way along. Whilst it's highlighted, I'm going to join them all together to make one continuous long vector. It's still going to be an open vector, but I'm going to join them together. I've right hand clicked on my mouse button and chosen join vectors. And at the bottom of this menu here, we get an instruction asking us to click and join vectors with coincident nodes. I've now got one continuous vector when I press the word join. Number of vectors now, number of vectors after, join. And now that's one continuous open vector. Okay, you've done well so far. What I'd like us to do here now is to save our work again, just to update, just in case something goes wrong. Now to draw the profile for the minute markers around our dial. And the minute markers are going to be surprisingly similar to the shape that we've just drawn. And it just takes 3 lines, right hand click to let go. That's the shape of the profile, which is going to be pushed all the way around this circular vector. I think we're ready to go. The next stage is going to involve a 3-dimensional shape called extrude. Click on extrude here. Notice that if you choose this right hand mouse button, you get other options, but we're just going to use this extrude wizard by clicking on it like so. It asks us to select a drive curve. This is our drive curve. Press select. Notice that there are some little markers which are appearing to the outside of the vector. These markers need to be on the inside because this area is for gluing our clock dial to our wooden frame later. Use other side. Start profile. This is the start profile that we're going to use around the vector to create our minute marker shape. Press select. These marks should show on the inside of a vector to represent the solid. If they don't, we need to click on these 2 checkboxes here, but hopefully that's okay for you now. Now what we're going to do is choose to use a Z modulation profile. Click on this vector that we've now joined together and choose select. All these little markers should now be on the inside to represent a solid. It should be a case now that we can go to add and calculate and close, and in our 3D view we should get a marker shape like so. Each one of these markers represents 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and so on. And you can look down on your work by clicking on any one of these from the X, the Y, and the Z axes. If I hold down the middle mouse button, you can see now that it moves about. But we haven't got the dial yet, so let's give a bit of solid backing to the dial. Here's the dial here. I've clicked on it once, and now if I double click on it, I get the shape editor. Just make sure that you've selected the flat shape and choose a start height of about 3 mm. Click on add close, and now when we go to our 3D view, you should have a back on your job. I'm going to save my work now. Okay, if you need to see the vectors that you've used currently, click on Toggle Vector Visibility, and this will show you the vectors that you've used in your 3D view. If you've got a gold background on like that, you can switch it on and off the 0 plane by clicking on this button here. And if you've got this X, Y and Z marker on here, you can switch that on or off depending on what you want by clicking on that button there. In the 2D view, you can switch on the grayscale view and adjust the contrast accordingly. It's up to you. Okay, let's go back now to doing another part of our clock face. The next part of my design requires the minutes to be shown at 5-minute intervals and the hours to be shown. To do that, I'm going to use Roman numerals. So I'm going to choose this text tool, Create Vector Text. The Create Vector Text tool might take a moment for you to load up. When it does load up, choose a font like Times Roman, and pressing the T in this font box here allows you then to choose down and roll and select Times Roman more quickly. The font size, we're looking at around font size 70, 75. I'm going to choose 70 like so. And then simply on the clock dial anywhere, I'm going to click on there and I'm going to start entering the Roman numerals that I need. Just before I carry on showing you the Roman numerals in ArcCam, I thought I would share with you the clock face. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my ArcCam model and I'm going to start to type. I'll start with 12. So X, I, 1, 2, 3, IV for 4, V for 5, V, I for 6, V, I, 7, V, I for 8, space, and now it's off the page, so it's IX, space, and then X, and then X1. And let's see what I've got. If I press done and just roll out, I should have them all there. Let's see. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's super. I'm happy with all of those. I've got them all. Alright, now what we're going to do is fit these around this curve on here. To do that's quite easy using this fantastic tool called Wrap Text Around a Curve. So I'm going to click on it and it says select curve and text. So there's the curve, hold down shift, there is the text and press select. Can't be any easier than that. Just going to zoom in a little bit on here so I can just see things nice and clearly. Alright. You might want to do the same. Do you know, you can pick it up whilst it's in this menu and just move things around like that. It can't be any easier than that really. And if we choose single words, every time we put a space in allows us to move these around as well. So I'm just going to move these out of the way for now and then I'll start dividing them up. So let's just get them out the way. Move them around. And you'll be wanting to do this as well. There's 3, so that's easy to do. Right in the middle there, at that point, that's for 3 marker, okay, for quarter past. And I'll just move this out the way. And here's the 1, so, got to be accurate. So that's north, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need that 1 just to be in line with that one there, like so. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That number 2 needs to be in line with that. And if you're finding it a little hard to line these up, there are things you can do here. You can specify the distance, and notice when I'm clicking on this button here how the letters are actually moving away from the line. Well, I could put in a value of 10mm there, press enter, and it moves up. I could put in a value of 15, and it's up to you really to decide where you want these to be. And now it helps me to line them up exactly on there just perfectly. Let's go for 4 o'clock. So 4 o'clock, if that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's going to be 4 o'clock just there between those two. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that one there is going to be 5 o'clock. And then 6 o'clock, that's easy, right in the middle there, like so. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 7 o'clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 8 o'clock. We want that to be about there. And then 9 o'clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right in the middle there. And then finally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 11 o'clock. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick error check to make sure I haven't made an error here, because that doesn't seem quite right, and you'll want to do the same on all of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that one there seems to be just about right now. I'm quite happy with that. Okay, now to give it a shape, these letters need to be engraved. Double click on them. Oh, we've got to click on OK here, sorry, my mistake. When we click on them now, we can go to the constant height letters tool, and you'll want a top height. This is the shape at the very top as a cross section through it, and something like 1.5mm there would be super, and a bottom height we'll be looking around 2.5mm straight up before we get any shaping on there. So overall we're going to have a height of 4mm, and you can leave it as a circular cross section, or you can choose an angular cross section. With this type of font, in fact, it's probably an angular cross section, which is going to look best. Choose add, click on OK, and then you should see the calculations happened. And if I just adjust the contrast on here, you can see something must have happened in the 3D view. Let's go and have a look. And there is the 3D view on there. So now we've actually got our Roman numerals on our clock. If I just look at different views, you can see what we've got, and look down on it straight away, you can see that when the hour and minute hand gets to this line here, that will indicate exactly on the hour 12 o'clock. That's going to be a minute past, 2 minute past, 3, 4, 5 minute past, and so on. Okay, now for the next stage of our design, we'll need to save our work like so. For the next part of design, you need to open up another copy of ArtCam, and I've got one open in the wings here. When you open up, go to File, and you'll want to go to New, and from Image File. And when I go into Image File, I'm going to load up an image which I've taken off the internet. It's a very simple image. When the image opens up, you'll be asked to set the model size, and all you need to do is to click on OK. This reminds me of my visit to Moscow just 2 years ago now, and very beautiful it was too. So what I'm going to do here is actually select a portion of this design to be engraved onto my clock dial, and I'll go to the Shapes tool and drag a circle over this. I'm just going to draw the circle and then get the best picture I can. I'll scale it up using the scale options, and notice how it locks to different points. If you hold down Shift, you can actually get it to lock to not lock to any of the grid lock points at all. Okay, that'll do. If I double click on the circle now, I'll be able to say 0 rest, and that will flatten the outside area here. So I'll go to 0 rest, and in the 3D view, there we've now got just our engraving that we want. And if I just roll in with my middle mouse button, you'll be able to see the engraving of the photographic pattern. Very attractive it is too. So at this point, I'm now going to save this work, and I'll call this engraving feature, and click on save. And I can close this version of Arcam down now, which I have done. Okay, let's go back to our first copy of Arcam that we had open today, which is this one on here, and we're going to paste on that engraving that I've just done for you. I'm going to go back to the 2D view, and in our relief tools you'll see a little picture of a teddy bear. Paste relief from a file. I'm looking now for the file called engraving feature, and I'll click on open, and you can see that little tiny engraving I had there, and we're going to keep this nice and easy for you just by dragging and pulling this onto this shape here. And I'm just going to line up where I can those little black dots by using the cursor keys on my keyboard, and that will do me. Then I will scale it to a size. I'll just drag it and apply, drag it and apply, like so, until I'm happy with the size that I want, which is going to be, you know, approximately somewhere around there. I might scale this a little bit as well, just to fit. Okay, and when you're happy with that, simply go to mode, make sure you've got add selected, and you can also choose the size in the Z range to no more than really about 2mm, I would recommend, and then press on apply, and you can paste that on top and go to close. And now when we go to our 3D view, you'll see the engraving. If I just change the angle, the engraving of St. Basil's Cathedral there in Moscow. Well, no clock is any good without a hole in the middle for the clock mechanism, so go back to the mechanism, to the dial, sorry, and we will draw out a circle, and the diameter of that circle needs to be no more than 10mm for the clock mechanism to go through, depending on what type of mechanism you have, of course. And I'll right hand click to finish that, double click on that and zero it so it punches a hole all the way through. And now in our 3D view you should be able to see that there's a hole through the back of this, like so. That in fact is our project finished in this before we make our picture frame. So well done for getting this far, and I hope to see you in the next episode, episode 2 of CAD-CAM Cookies, that will follow shortly after this break.